Welcome to my Sorare Journey. This is episode 94 and we have been playing Sorare for over 4 years. We started playing on the 5th of March in 2021 and still today I'm here playing, making videos, setting lineups. Now there's going to be a lot to go through on sort of my Sorare Journey today, all my thoughts and opinions, but the key one I want to start with, what's making me make this video, is should you be doubling down on these falling prices? Because that's what I've been doing, and I want to talk about my sort of logic for it and the reason behind it. So if you saw my latest sort of update, it was probably like a month or two ago now, gallery looked probably something like this. Maybe you wouldn't have seen the Odegaard purchase, things like that. We have got pretty unlucky with injuries. We can now bring Nick Pope into the fray. We had Vicario out for a long time. We've had Romero out. Most importantly, Saka out. But at this current point, March was basically the time I've been waiting for. Brennan Johnson's back fit. Jota's back fit. I just fixed a few of these before. Ben White's coming back into the fray. Nick Pope, who we mentioned. We did lose Lewis Hall this week, but ultimately more positives than negatives. And Saka, please be around the corner. So looking at this lineup, you're looking at it and you've got good depth everywhere, good players, that sort of consistent yield as what I've been aiming for all season is still sort of continuing. I'll go through my profit and loss shortly. I just want to talk about sort of the players I'm picking up and why. So looking at my cards, we can go straight into it and see Tsimikas, £15, Ruben Diaz, £27, Omar Marmoush, £100 spent. Nathan Ake for £12. Connor Bradley for £22. Now, these two were just injuries. I saw whoever was injured at the time. Obviously, Bradley was Trent. And sometimes it works out lovely in your favour. If you're watching a game live, you snipe a player as the other one's injured. Trent missed 3 games, probably. They were all cup games or something like that. Like, I had no utility out of Bradley, so that was a bit stupid. Ake purchased, £12. You're never really going to go too far wrong, especially with a Dutch international. Seen him put on mega scores for them, like thinking long term here. But he then got injured for 8 weeks as well, as is Bradley. This would be a perfect week for Connor Bradley to play. He's injured. Little case of bad luck like that. But really the focus, Marmoush £100, Diaz £27, Tsimikas. What is going on there? So obviously you would have seen this sort of falling price in Sorare cards recently, completely normal, especially the in-season cards. I mean, if we just look at sort of Cole Palmer's graph over the last year, launched probably, where is it, September, here, massive launch, really steady. What shocked me, I expected a line down, really steady, these top players, Premier League players across the whole season. That's why, a couple months in, I picked up Palmer for basically the price I could have purchased him at the start of the season. But now I think we're starting to see, boom, the drop down, 350, 299. Now, yes, Palmer's form's gone off. He's gone from being this best player in the league to being, Chelsea's stuck in the middle sort of guy. He's just lacking decisives. What's that been? 7-8 games now? For a Cole Palmer, that sort of maximum price, you can't be having, those sort of dry spells. But still, this sort of consistent AA, Southampton was the killer. Obviously, I had him captain, and I think it was 3 big chances missed. We'll give it a quick check just for clarity here. 2 big chances missed, and he could have squared the ball to Nkunku at the same time, and all the rest of it. Tough luck. These things happen. But yeah, just looking across the gallery, you're seeing these major drops across pretty much everywhere. 50 for Palmer, 20 for Marmoush, another 30 for Odegaard, 30 for Son. So yeah, it's coming towards the end of the season. These cards have less utility. People want to sell now because by the end of the season, there'll be lower prices because they have less games to go, so on and so forth. So why would I go and pick up, a maximum scorer? Maybe not a maximum scorer, a premium player like Omar Marmoush. Well, I love a good discount. If he was purchased less than a month ago for £196, picking him up for £100, not awful. But mainly, it's just utility. To explain this in the best way I can, we can look at my yield. Obviously, I've been tracking it on a spreadsheet, all the money I've spent and all of my returns every single game week. So basically, you can see a total outlay of £5,300. That's across the entire season. That includes cards purchased literal days ago, like Simicast. And as you go down, you're seeing consistent wins. Even this game week, I came 6th in the Champions League. I do want to show you this because this is both lucky and unlucky at the same time. Because, right, if you're playing Sorare and you're finishing with 497 points in a last 16 game, aka team supposed to be at a similar level, highly competitive, I did expect to win a bit more, but at the same time, this is the game, you know. Arsenal were probably the best fixture. I have most of the Arsenal cards. It just took mega scores like this, or even someone like Nepenthez, who, yeah, very similar players as me, just had Harry Kane and better bonuses. Which also, you know, all of these players above me, I'd say they basically spent more on their teams as well. So it's not just about how much did you win, it's, you know, how much did you pick them up for. That was a really nice team, actually. Fair play to that guy. He's probably got some good deals there. But yeah, when I'm talking about sort of like, you know, Odegaard purchases, I'm purchasing him. I've absolutely butchered that. I hate this Odegaard thing because he's got this stupid O in his name, which removes finding him easily. But I probably didn't show you him. Maybe in one of the videos I touched on it. But basically, yeah, he was always selling around this. I managed to get a huge deal, 185, and, you know, even at the time, I know these celebration cards, but they don't have that much of a premium. Since then, yeah, started dropping again. How did Baselbot sell a 174? I would have picked that up. Looks a cool celebration. Anyway, now, of course, he's still dropping, despite putting up, you know, reasonable scores, 63 the last 5. But I've had that utility to earn yield on him. I've not had the best luck recent game weeks, so maybe for Odegaard's particular point it doesn't work. But overall, we can see I've got a net cost of 1,000. I'm basically over the entire season ahead in terms of yield, so 83% versus 71% of games played. But because we're reinvesting, because we're really sending for the end of the season, these numbers, it doesn't take a lot to be basically overboard. So as soon as the percentage of return drops below, if we went, 3 game weeks maybe without winning, we'd be, you know, net level. But when you have this data available to you, what it shows you is that over these 27 games, I've been picking up £163 every game week. So when you're looking at cards like Omar Mamouche, who's, you know, for a forward, one of the top scorers in the game, you could make that back in 1 week. Now, of course, let's divide that by 5, say per player, £32. But how many games we have left is, I believe, 10? We have 10 games, or 11 if you include this week. So per player, on my average, I'd be making £300, right? But now all my players are in Division 1. Now you can say there's less games to go in the Champions League and Europa League, but I've only picked up £100. You know, I'm not focusing on those competitions. And yes, these stats are a bit blown out by the fact I finished in first place. But overall, what I'm trying to say is that the utility towards the end of the season, I think, is being undervalued by the market. Because, you know, a 6th place finish will get you £300. That's it's always what I'm looking for. I've got this huge gallery of selection already. I'm not saying it would be perfect for everyone to go out and spend on in-season cards at the very end. But if you're halfway there, and I'm 98% of the way there in terms of a gallery, I could run this team out, not buy anyone else for the rest of the season, be absolutely fine, pick up a bit of yield, maybe make £1,000 back so I cover my cost, maybe not, maybe make 1,500 so I make a profit. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. The point is, if you're in that position where you're already yielding, now is a great time to compound, in my opinion. So did I really need a forward? No. But I just love Marmoush at £100. I really think that's a great pickup, which is really funny because if you're watching this today, the day I put it out, or the day after, you won't see it on Sorare Day yet. But he's benched. He's benched for City, which is great. But, that's what you expect. But it's more than just piling in to good average players. I think at this point in the season, you can start fixture selections. And you would have seen Ruben Diaz, Omar Mamouche, Ake before the injury. I'm liking the upcoming fixtures for Man City. Of course, they'll be focusing on it. Yes, they've got the FA Cup, but they've got enough depth to play both full squads. Leicester City, Crystal Palace at home should be points. Everton are playing a bit better. Wolves at home. Southampton away. Fulham at the minute aren't playing great. There's a lot of available fixtures there. Basically, they're playing, at home, the bottom team, the second worst team in the league, and away, the worst team in the league. There's so many options and chances for me to yield off that. So it's not just about spending money. It's about having a gallery where spending more money will, give you an additional chance of yielding and, maximising those chances. I'm weak in City. If City have a good week, which thankfully they haven't for a long time, I've got no chance. I've got Bernardo Silva, who, I don't even think he's playing today. I'd need to check that, to be honest. He's definitely not in any of my teams, I can tell you that. But besides that, who does have these sort of Southampton fixtures, Leicester fixtures? It's clear as day they're not up to Premier League standard. But beyond that, that's just this season. The market does undervalue classic utility at the same time, because next season, what do we think will happen? Man City will get Rodri back. They might even get him back this season. They're going to have a longer time to build with all these January transfer windows. They've spent 70, 80, 90 million, whatever it was, on Marmoush. He's going to be a key part. De Bruyne will probably move on. Yes, you'll always have rotation at City. But what I'm trying to pick out here is that eventually, towards the start of next season, classic cards will rise in value. So if you're looking at basically the price fall in Omar Mamouche's price, which I think was about £50 at the time. Yeah, so someone had bought him for 57, I bought him for 100. Let's call that a £43 decrease by the end of the season. Or we can use the latest version, which happened after my sale. It doesn't really matter. Let's say £54 decrease. So in order for me to get fair value, I would only need to pick up £54 of yield on my Omar Mamouche card. In some of those really easy games, that should be fine. But one step better is that I'm pricing this at the low in what I consider this March, sort of April time, always traditionally low, because this is actually when you have a chance to sell. So if that £46 move up to £50, £60, I have even less need to yield, because I do have that classic card which will help me next season and yield again. So my point is, if you've watched my Sorare economics video, which I think was one of my best videos, basically, over time, your Sorare in-season card values should basically come to their classic card prices by the end of the season. But it's not a straight line. As you saw in Cole Palmer, it was flat, 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 massive drop. But what I'm seeing in the market, my opinion on the market, which could be completely wrong, is that the massive drop has happened too soon because people are pre-anticipating the end of season crash, but really that's happening now. Now, my opinion could be wrong. Marmouche could fall to, £10 classic season. So that means I'm going to lose £90. That's harder to yield back. But also when you looked at sort of, my in-game yield average, it's also doable to do that. So it's not a free punt, but it feels like a smart punt, to go out, strengthen, particularly on a team that has good fixtures and you're weak against. If Liverpool have a good game, which they've had loads of, I've got Alisson, I've got Van Dijk, I've got Salah. Yes, they're classics, so I can't take maximum potential earning from them. But ultimately, I still do a really good job. and you add in, I don't need them. I've already got depth of selection. Lots of different clubs here. Lots of high XP cards from early at the start. There's not many galleries in a better position to try and just increase that return. Now, that increased return, of course, comes with increased risk. But, far within my risk parameters. What have I spent? 150 quid on ETH, which has been dropping in price anyway. All these different scenarios. There's plenty of scenarios that worry me. The only uncertainty that we don't know for next season is the prize pool for the Premier League or for Sorare in general. I would be concerned if they cut the prize pool. So then you've got to look at the company. How are they doing? How are they acting? You look at the MLS. They put a decent prize pool out. You look at the card sales. Very decent. Then they had hot streaks, which this week they increased. So to me, if you're thinking what Sorare are going to do next season, keep the prize pool the same is probably the most likely outcome, which I'm fine with. It works perfectly for me. But if they decrease it, that's what you're worried about. I would say there's a higher likelihood that they actually increase the Premier League prize pool or the Champion prize pool. I think they'll keep it the same, don't get me wrong. But if there's a higher likelihood that they increase it, that means classic cards are even further undervalued because next season, the prices, if the prize pool goes up, they will be your prizes that you win. So ultimately, there's plenty of different reasons why I actually think for me, buying now is the right option. Doesn't mean that's it for you. But this can roll into my strategy this weekend because you'll see, not only am I, playing, but I'm in the higher divisions now. So maybe I've got a better chance to even yield. There's still 2 Division 1 teams. I got so many teams this week as well. We'll focus on just the Premier League because that's what I've been speaking about today. But we have, Salah, Palmer, Odegaard, Timber, some really strong fixtures. And yes, Vicario, you would want a better selection there. But also, he's one of those boom or bust players in this fixture where if he keeps a clean sheet, he's probably getting 100 or close. So if you need something to beat those Liverpool stacks, Alisson's not getting 100 tomorrow. Yes, he did it against PSG. Southampton aren't going to have the shots where he's going to get 100. So you're thinking of sort of the gamification of it as well as, right, I've got good players. How do I get the highest of high rewards? You need a risky goalkeeper. So that works. This team, relatively budget if I look at the prices I picked up these guys for. But again, Division 1 with a chance of winning. Nkunku great fixtures, Van Dijk great fixtures. Again, Van Dijk averages so much higher than Nkunku. Why would you captain him? 100 potential. For me, Nkunku's got better 100 potential than Van Dijk. And alternatively, I know the largest selection in Division 1 this week will be Liverpool players. Obviously, they're at Anfield, they're playing bottom of the league. Schlott said he's going to play a strong team. Whether that's true or not, we'll soon see. But for me, it's not only 100 potential, but it's your competition. If you're moving in line with your competition, it's so much harder to go and yield those top rewards. And then our other team is going to struggle here. Always a bridesmaid. We won it in Division 1, but Tossin's going to be a doubt whether he starts. Marmoush isn't starting at the minute. He can come off the bench, of course. Otherwise, really average scorers, high average, which is great. And Alisson, should put up a 60. Even then, I've not done any yielding in Champion, really. In season, this is as well. But I've got the availability to do it. The problem is it's obviously my 4th, 5th, 6th best teams. But still, there's chances. If he does play his first team squad, slot that is, I've got Jota, I've got Szoboszlai. Then you move to high average players like Semenyo and Porro. And a good game for our goalkeeper, Unai Simon. So, at this minute, it's risky to be continuing to put money into Sorare in a falling market. But for me, it makes all the right sense. So just to finish off this video, from our 6th place, I believe we have a Champion Europe box. I have no idea what star it is, even if they even have stars anymore. Let's see what we win. Whoa! Market credits, that's 7 quid. 7 quid 50. That resets the timer on my market credits. I've still got about 100, 110 pounds, something like that, waiting for next season. So that is my strategy. I always try and bring a financial analytic approach to Sorare. I've been doing it for 4 years. If you do like it, subscribe, like, and all the best to you. Cheers.